Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Field's Guide to Assassins by Julie Mulhern. Narrated by Renée Chambliss. Chapter 1. People are staring, I muttered. My friend André Duchamp favored me with a good-natured grin. Of course they're staring. You're like the most famous person on the planet. The moment I'd stepped out of the limousine onto the rain-slicked Parisian sidewalk, I'd felt hundreds of eyes sizing me up, judging everything from my hair and makeup to my shoes. The click, click, click of cameras didn't help with the under-a-microscope feeling that had dogged me since my return from Mexico. All those cameras, all those watching eyes, weren't helping my nerves, not one bit. I needed a moment to collect myself. This was my first assignment, and I couldn't screw it up. There were no quiet moments to be had, not with the swarm of photographers and André's hand tugging at my elbow. I swallowed, hard, then tilted my head to look at our destination. The club's entrance looked exactly like the Arc de Triomphe. Already, the line to get inside snaked around the block. André had insisted on this place, and, because the man I was supposed to meet was a regular, I hadn't argued. Come on, André ushered me. Ushered us. I was so annoyed about us. To the club's door, where a muscle-bound bouncer wearing a black t-shirt and jacket unhooked the clip from the stanchion. I hated jumping lines. I dug my heels into the pavement and looked at the hundreds of people waiting to get in. I always feel weird doing this. Poppy. With an indulgent shake of his head, André dismissed my egalitarian leanings. These people are waiting because Triomphe is happening. Your being here makes it happening. Escaping from a Mexican drug lord does wonders for a girl's Q score. I trended for days, was still trending. Went from having tens of thousands of Instagram followers to millions, overnight. I'd love to be you, said Dylan Roberts, the reality starlet André had brought along. The annoying part of us. She hooked her arm through mine and flashed smile after smile at the photographers. Photographers who were calling my name. Over here, Poppy. Smile, Poppy. Who are you wearing, Poppy? With Dylan focused on the photographers, I gave André a look. André, agent in reality stars, eager to make a quick million or two off their few minutes of fame. And Dylan Roberts' star was fading. Having her seen with me would extend her shelf life. He'd used me. You love this, he grinned. I blinked, half blinded by a flash. No, I don't. I don't even like it. Dylan shifted her focus from the pack of rabid photographers to me. How can you not love this? It's the best. Like most reality stars, Dylan was naturally pretty. The right makeup made her beautiful. You're so lucky. Now she flashed her smile, one perfected by orthodontia and some serious whitening, at me. You don't have to work at being famous. Lucky? Dylan and I had very different definitions of lucky. My spine stiffened. Perhaps André sensed I was about to tell his client where she could put the heels of her Jimmy Choos, maybe even help her put them there. He put his hand on Dylan's back and propelled her forward. Let's go. The club's interior was black. Black velvet couches, black leather banquettes, and LED lighting in shades of lime and lavender. Ooh! Dylan's lips formed a perfect circle. Triomphe is the coolest club in Paris. In André's business, he had to know things like that. I heard the coolest club in Paris was under a bridge. I was being contrary, but I'd also really heard that. Andre sniffed. The place under the bridge doesn't have VIP seating. The club was packed. They didn't need more publicity. How much are they paying you for bringing me here? Wherever I went, whatever I did, there were pictures, and commentary, and video. Someone with a cell phone was probably filming right now. Tomorrow, an hour from now, this club would be all over the internet. The line outside would grow exponentially, and Andre would be paid, handsomely. Be nice. He reached out and squeezed my hand. I'll take you to Hermes tomorrow. Really? They must be paying him a fortune. I've had my eye on a bag, a Toolbox 26 in Blue Atoll. I was thinking a scarf. Yeah, no. I looked around the packed club and didn't see the man I was supposed to meet. Please let him be here. I didn't want to come back. This appearance is going to cost you a handbag. Dylan followed our exchange with a slight furrow between her threaded brows. Wait, you're not getting paid? No. I was here at the behest of my new boss, but I wasn't about to tell her that. Or Andre. Not when I had him on the line for Hermes' bag. You could totally make a ton of money, she insisted. I simply shrugged. I mean it. You're like the most famous person ever. Her voice was wistful. Being a movie star's daughter, especially when that movie star was Sheris Carlton, the brightest star there was, might have made me famous, but the accident of my birth wasn't exactly an accomplishment. Being abducted by the biggest, baddest, most powerful drug lord in the world wasn't an accomplishment either. Getting away had been. I was famous for all three. We settled at our table, and I scanned the VIP section. He was walking toward us. Gila Lambert, the reason I'd agreed to come to this club. He made his way to a table near ours and leaned back against the banquette. My nerves, which had calmed at the mention of Hermes, got up and did the can-can. Could I do this? I swallowed hard. I could do this. I'd Googled him before I came. Gila Lambert was the son of a textile merchant who'd married the only daughter of an impecunious count. Lambert had used his aristocratic grandfather's name and threadbare connections to establish himself in business. The man looked like Roman Doris. Same great hair, same stubble, same sexy grin. I let my gaze linger long enough to catch his attention. Then I looked away. The DJ was playing something with a relentless beat, and the lights flashed and pulsed. Dance with me? I asked Andre. He leaned forward. What? I raised my voice. Dance with me. Andre settled his gaze on Dylan. Do you mind? Of course not. I'll order drinks. She leaned back against the black leather of the half-circle banquette as if she were sitting on a throne, and the people who hadn't made it into the VIP section were her subjects. Andre led me onto the dance floor, pausing only to breathe into my ear, "What's up? You never dance." Blame that on a singularly unflattering picture that almost broke the internet. Wide-angle lens, plus stripes across my ass, plus bending over from the waist for a fallen earring. Lesson learned. Nothing's up. Such a lie. Yeah, right. Andre looked around the club, searching. Who's the guy? I don't know what you mean. I put my hands on his shoulders and swayed my hips. Anyone ever told you that you're a terrible liar? Once or twice. Or a million times. So, who is he? Andre was still searching. I'll tell you later. I shimmied and prayed no one with a camera was shooting me from behind. Andre smirked. About that handbag. What about it? I danced closer to him. It's yours if you take a couple of selfies with Dylan. When he sent me to Paris, John Brown, my new boss, and the director of a super-secret government agency, had told me, convince people there's nothing but air between your ears. Get close to Gila Lambert. Learn as much as you can. As to what I was supposed to learn from a private banker to Europe's rich and famous, Mr. Brown hadn't told me that. Get close to him. Listen. As directives went, Mr. Brown's was vague. I leaned forward and spoke over the relentless beat into Andre's ear. The handbag and a couple of scarves. You don't wear scarves. As if that mattered. We could do 2 handbags, I countered. You drive a hard bargain. I merely smiled and swayed. The bag and 2 scarves? Andre was smart to clarify an exact number. Not the carré, I clarified. I want the shawls, the big ones. Poppy. He made my name a complaint. Take it or leave it. I snuck a quick peek at Gila Lambert. The man was squinting at his phone. Damn. I shimmied harder. The song ended, and Andre led me back to the table, where a waiter was opening a bottle of champagne. Andre read the label on the bottle and blanched. That's Krug Clos du Menil. I snickered. This would be the last time Andre ever let Dylan order drinks. Dylan! I grinned at Andre's client. You have excellent taste. She blinked. I do? I nodded. The grapes for the wine she'd ordered came from a tiny walled vineyard in Ménil-sur-Orge. A bottle cost more than $1,000. That's very good champagne. She shrugged. I didn't order it. That man over there sent it. She inclined her head towards someone behind me. I ordered a lemon drop martini. Andre breathed a loud sigh of relief. I glanced over my shoulder. Gila Lambert wasn't squinting at his phone anymore. I nodded in acknowledgement, then returned my gaze to Dylan, whose dress was working overtime to keep her contained. It was possible Lambert had sent her the champagne. I waited for Andre to sit, then slid into the banquette after him. The waiter filled our glasses, then settled the bottle into the ice bucket more gently than new mothers settled their babies into bassinets. Merci, I told him. What about my martini? Asked Dylan. Where's my martini? The waiter looked down his nose at her. Un moment, mademoiselle. What did he say? It will be here in a minute, Andre translated. I don't see why he has to be so rude and superior. Dylan's lower lip extended in a becoming pout. Not everyone likes champagne. Andre patted her hand. French waiters are rude to foreigners. It's part of their job description. Don't leave him a tip. It wasn't worth the effort to explain his tip was included in the bill. Instead, I lifted the champagne flute, admired the bubbles, then tilted the glass toward the man who'd sent the wine. I even added a hint of a smile. Gila Lambert said something to the people at his table, then rose, walking toward us with a supremely confident expression on his handsome face. Andre leaned toward me and whispered in my ear, That's the one? Shh! You have excellent taste. Just wait till we get to Hermé. I swallowed a laugh at the expression on Andre's face. Then I looked up at the man standing next to our table. Merci, vous êtes très gentil. Vous parlez français? Un peu. Actually, I spoke more than a little French. Chambliss had dated a French director for a few years, and I'd spent vacations in Paris, at his chateau in Biarritz, or at Hôtel du Cap in Antibes. May I thank you in English? A woman as beautiful as you may say thank you in any language she wishes. Only a Frenchman could say something like that without sounding ridiculous. Please, I waved at the banquette next to me. Join us. He sat. A waiter magically appeared with an extra champagne glass and filled it with Krug. Where's my martini? Demanded Dylan. The waiter sneered. Un moment. He's so rude, said Dylan to his retreating back. She thrust her hand across the table, and her substantial breasts nearly spilled out of her dress. I'm Dylan Roberts. Gila Lambert. He took her fingers in his, shook once, then quickly released them. I'm Puppy Fields. Just in case he hadn't looked at a television or the internet in the past few weeks. And this is my friend, André Duchamp. I've heard of you, said André. We have a mutual client. Oh? Gila raised his brows. Guy Lefebvre, said André. Ah, bien sûr. I recognize your name. You represent his social media efforts. French disdain. Gila somehow managed to sound as if he was looking down his nose. You don't approve? André could do disdain too, and there was no way some louche Frenchman would get away with insulting him. Like all good French fans, I want him to concentrate on football. He lifted his glass. Shall we toast to... Wait! Dylan's shrill directive had dancers on the far side of the floor gaping at us. I don't have a drink! Gila caught the waiter's eye, nodded toward Dylan, and seconds later, a martini appeared in front of her. You must come here often, I observed. He shrugged. A Gallic shrug that said he regularly dropped tens of thousands of euros on an evening out. Gila lifted his glass and looked into my eyes. To new friends. We touched the rims of our glasses. Then Gila turned to André and Dylan and touched the rims of their glasses. The wine was divine. $10,000 bottles of wine should be divine. I sighed. So did André. That's amazing. Thank you. My martini is good too. Under the table, I tapped André's shin with the tip of my shoe, then jerked my head toward the dance floor. Dylan, would you like to dance? André asked. Later. She slurped her martini and scanned the club, presumably looking for famous people with whom she could take selfies. André shrugged. She'd said no, there was nothing he could do. I leaned closer to him. I'll forget about the scarves. André's eyes widened. He sat straighter. He even rested his hand over Dylan's. Come on, please. I love this song. Fine. She made dancing with one of the best-looking men in the club sound like an imposition. André rose from his chair and held out his hand. Dylan slurped again before she stood, smoothed her tiny dress over her tiny hips, and put her hand in his. They walked into the crowd, where they were swallowed by lights and sound. Forget about the scarves? Asked Gila. A long story. Or not. André's dance with Dylan had cost me 2 beautiful squares of silk twill. And a boring one. Tell me about yourself. I'm just a banker. A banker? You don't look like any bankers I know. A satisfied smirk ghosted across Guillain's lips. Most bankers don't send bottles of Krug Clodumenil. Perhaps I'd like to have you as a client. I brought the edge of the champagne flute to my lips and stared into his eyes. Perhaps we should talk about that. I'm having a party tomorrow night at my apartment in the Mere. Will you come? Tomorrow night? I don't know. Please, come. May I bring André? You and Duchamp are just friends. Then he is a fool. I looked down at the table, unaccountably flustered. Frenchmen were so direct. Guillain lifted his glass from the table, and I shifted my gaze back to him. He was watching the people on the dance floor. By all means, bring Duchamp. Guy may be there. Now he looked into my eyes. Give me your number, and I'll text you the address. I don't give out my number. I mustered an apologetic smile. You wouldn't believe how much reporters will pay for it. I had no idea how much they'd pay. I just didn't want to appear too eager. If you want me to come tomorrow night, leave a message at the Ritz. I'll try to stop by. Something like annoyance flashed across Guillain's face. I was, after all, drinking the $1,000-a-bottle champagne he'd sent. The least I could do was agree to show up at his party. It's my mother. She keeps making plans for me. Your mother? Not for 1 minute did I believe he didn't know Sheriff Carlton was my mother. Everyone in the world knew that. My mother was one of the biggest stars in Hollywood, and I looked just like her. Seriously, it was spooky. But for the sake of whatever information John Brown wanted me to find, I played along. Sheriff Carlton. Of course. I knew you looked familiar. He tilted his head to the side. You're the woman who brought down a drug lord. I didn't bring down a drug lord. That was another cartel, and a handful of government agents. I was just there for the shooting. But you survived. I kept my head down, and I ran. Someday, you will have to tell me the story of how you escaped. Someday, when hell froze over. He pulled the bottle of Krug from the ice bucket and refilled our glasses. Tell me, why are you in Paris? Sheriff is filming a movie. I'm spending a few days with her. I managed to giggle. Of course, she works all day and is too tired to go out at night, so really we're just sharing a suite at the Ritz. Perhaps you'll bring her with you tomorrow night. That wasn't going to happen, but I nodded. Sometimes she insists I join her and her director for dinner. A total lie. When Sheriff returned to the Ritz after work, she ordered a massage, a good Vouvray, and a piece of grilled chicken with rabbit food on the side. I'll see if she feels like a party when she gets back from the shoot. The song melted into another one. Your friends are returning. Guillain stood. I'll leave you to enjoy your evening. Thank you for the wine. You're welcome. He bent and kissed the air near my left cheek, then my right. I'll see you tomorrow night. Mr. Brown would be pleased. Things were going according to plan. But I shivered. Guillain Lambert's parting words felt more like a threat than a promise. Chapter 2. Click, click, click. My dog's nails on the damp sidewalk melded with the sounds of passing cars, the drips of stray raindrops, and the muted hum of Paris at midnight. I'd returned to my suite at the Ritz and found Consuela, the dog who'd adopted me in Mexico, in the mood for a late-night walk. Or maybe I was in the mood for a walk, and Consuela was my excuse to take one. We strolled past Au Vieux Paris. Remind me to stop by here tomorrow. I'd noticed earrings the other day, and their vintage sparkle had stayed with me. A sure sign they were meant to be mine. Consuela liked shiny things. A lot. She was wearing a new collar, set with faux amethysts that complemented her tawny fur. And if the jaunty way she lifted her paws was any indication, she liked her new bling immensely. The sidewalk was quiet. Few people were out, and the shops were shuttered. How about we go to Café du Lapé? For a Mexican dog, Consuela was fast developing a taste for tiny bites of French pastry. We took a left on Avenue de l'Opéra, crossed Boulevard de Capucines, and found a table outside under the cafe's green awning. A waiter, looking spiffy in his black vest and apron, crisp white shirt, and gold tie, offered me a menu. I waved it off. Non merci. Je voudrais un chocolat chaud et... I looked down at the dog curled at my feet. Un croissant. Oui, mademoiselle. I took out my cell and looked up Dylan's Instagram account. No surprise. She'd posted pictures of the two of us sitting on the banquette at Triomphe with the caption, #FunWithFriends. Actually, the hashtag was a surprise. I hardly knew Dylan. Consuela took a dim view of the time I spent on social media. It was time better spent paying attention to her. I picked her up, and she curled onto my lap with a contented sigh. I slipped my cell into the pocket of my raincoat and looked around. On the sidewalk, a man wearing sunglasses was staring at me. I quickly shifted my gaze. Also on the sidewalk, a model dressed in black, impossibly thin and tall, with prominent cheekbones, sunken cheeks, and a hungry look in her eyes, walked by on the arm of a shorter man. In the street, an ancient Peugeot stalled. The driver got out and opened the hood, prompting the cars behind him to honk. The couple at the table next to mine argued in a language I couldn't identify. From their tones, I surmised she was angry, and he was making excuses. Some arguments were universal. Aside from the man on the sidewalk, I peeked. He'd disappeared. Paris was ignoring me. I leaned back in my chair and enjoyed anonymity. The waiter appeared with my hot chocolate and Consuela's croissant. Désirez-vous autre chose? Non, merci. I broke off a tiny piece of pastry and held out my fingers. Consuela sat up in my lap and with unexpected delicacy devoured the morsel. She sighed, and her eyes went all half-lidded and sultry, as if French pastry was the ultimate pleasure. Maybe Consuela was onto something. French pastry was a lot less complicated than other sultry pleasures. I took a tiny bite of croissant as well. We sat and watched Paris for another 20 minutes. 20 minutes while I ignored the repeated buzzes in my pocket. Refused to think about the last man who'd made my eyes go half-lidded and sultry. And considered Gila Lambert. I'd Googled him, so I'd expected handsome. I hadn't expected charming. I bet he made plenty of women sigh like Consuela did when I slipped her another bite of croissant. Are you ready for bed? Given the direction my thoughts had taken, it was a loaded question. Yep. I paid the bill and returned Consuela to the pavement. She took a moment to stretch and yawn. She even offered up one last lingering look at the remaining croissant. It's bad for our waistlines, I told her. She didn't answer. She merely trotted toward the exit, sure that I would follow. I might hold the leash, but she made the decisions. Consuela paused outside the cafe, looked in all directions, then set off toward the Ritz via Boulevard du Capucines. We passed Cartier, and I ignored the siren call of its windows. I had to, Consuela was pulling on her leash as if she were in a hurry.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?